Good morning, students. Welcome back to one more class on this data structure. Let us recap what we discussed in the last class. As we are going to study about user-defined data structures like C++, like stack, queues, and others, which are going to be implemented using the class object-oriented mechanism in C++ language. We discussed about class, what is a class, what is an object, and everything in the last class. I want you to recall whatever we have discussed about class and objects in the last class. Just see, a class is basically a user-defined data type that you should understand. And it is a structured data type. It starts with a class, the keyword class, followed by the name of the class, then access specifiers, data members, member functions. Okay, data members are the properties of the class, attributes of the class, everything. Member functions are the operations performed in the class, functions of the class, behavior of the class, you can call them. Okay. Then an object is an instance of the class. I told you that mere definition of the class doesn't reserve any memory for it. Only when an object for the class is declared, the memory for the class is declared. Then I gave you one example of how to declare a class, student, and it is access specifier public. Then these two are the properties of the class in this example. In the next example, name of the class, properties, and member functions, insert and display are the member functions. Here there is another example, class, properties, member function 1, member function 2, and how these member functions, they are all accessed only through the object of the class. Here the name of the class is employee, so object is E1 and another object E2. So through the object E1, the member function can be accessed. E1 dot insert, E2 dot insert. So E1, E2 are the objects of the class. Only through the objects of the class, the member functions can be accessed outside. Recall what I told you about the member functions. Usually the member functions are public. So when when a member function of a class is declared as a public, it can be accessed outside of the class. Similarly, when the data members of the class are declared as public, they are also available outside of the class. But that violates one of the strength of this class. See, data members when they are declared as a private, then they become well protected, and the values cannot be damaged, and they will be cannot be accessed outside of that class. And by that way, you can ensure some protection for the data members. So usually, it is better to declare the data members as private. That is what my practice is. So in my practical exams that we are going to discuss sometime later, all our data members will be treated as private only. And those data members are also called as instant variables. Okay, I will tell you more about that instance variables later. They are called as data members or properties or attributes or instance variables. All are more or less same only. Now, with those things we have discussed in the last class, now we are going for the important concepts. I want you to have a very good idea about what I mean by a constructor, what I mean by a destructor and other things. Okay. A constructor is a special function. A constructor is a special function that is declared within a class. Okay. I say it is special. Why it is so? It doesn't have any return data type. Every other function, member functions have a return data type, either void or integer or float as a return data type. But a constructor will not have a return data type, number one. Then the name of the constructor is same as the name of the class. What is the name of the class? That is the name of the constructor. Okay. And constructors can be either with parameters or without parameter. Okay. If a constructor has a parameter, then it is called as a parameterized constructor. Now you look at this example. Here I have a class by name employee, then access specifier public, and look at this function employee open bracket close bracket and open floor close floor. Within this open floor and close floor, these are the statement. Note that in the definition of this constructor employee, it doesn't have any return data type. So this is the beauty of this constructor. Had it been a normal function, it should have the return data type at the time of definition, but here it is not. So this constructor should not have any return data type. It should have the name of the class itself. It should not be something different. And it is not mandatory that you should declare a constructor in a class. Even if you don't declare a constructor in a class, the compiler itself will declare a default constructor. It will declare a default constructor. Okay, so these are the things. Above all these things, you should bear it in mind that a constructor is automatically executed when an object for a class is declared in the main function. See, an object for a class is declared in the main function of the C program. Only when the object for the class is declared, the constructor is automatically executed. So when it is automatically executed means it should do something. See, what are the actions that a constructor perform? A constructor is defined to initialize some of the instant variables, some of the data members. Their main work is to initialize the data members of the given class. Okay, so that's what we do it mostly in the constructor. So these 2 points I want you to bear it in mind very carefully. A constructor is automatically executed when an object for a class is declared. Number one, a constructor is used to initialize some of the data members of the given class. Okay, then mere definition of a class will not reserve any memory for it. Only when an object for the class is declared, then memory for that class is assigned. These things you should know. That's what I have explained here. A constructor is invoked, called, executed automatically at the time of object creation. Okay. Look at this parameterized constructor. Here, the name of the class is employee. I have two data members, ID, name, salary. Here, what is this one? This is employee. Does it have any return data type? No. It doesn't have any return data type. Whereas look at this member function display, it is having a return function, return data type, void. Whereas this employee, it doesn't have any return data type. So it is a constructor. This is the name of the class employee. That is same name employee is used here. And here I have three parameters I, N, S. Since this employee is having three parameters, this employee is the parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. Okay. Now, what does this employee do? Here, this ID, name, salary are the data members. And what I told you about the function of a employee constructor, a constructor is used to initialize, given initial value to a data member. Here ID is a data member. This ID is given the value of I. Where does this I gets the value? From the main method. During the object creation for this employee, there I will supply some value for this I, and that I value will be assigned to this I, and that value in turn will be given to ID. Similarly, the value for n is given at the time of object creation for this employee, and that value is given to the name. Similarly, the S is given to the data member salary. So this employee constructor initialize the data members ID, name, salary. Okay, this is an example. You see here, employee, object is E1. Object is E1 is equal to employee 101 Sono 8 lakhs 90,000. So this 101 is given to this I. This Sono is given to N. This 8 lakh 90,000 is given to S. Okay, like this. This in turn, this 101 will be given to this ID. This SONA will be given to name. This 8,90,000 will be given to salary. That is the case with the object E1. Then look at this object E2. Here I am giving 102. Nakul 59,000. So this 102 will be given to I for the object E2. Nakul is given to the value variable N for the object E2, similarly for 59,000. Now, how do I access this display? Using the object E1 dot display, E2 dot display. That is how it is working. So, these are the fundamental things that I want you to know before we go for user defined data structures like stack, queues, and other things. So I want you to go refresh your knowledge of uh, constructors, how they are functioning, what is their importance, and if you have a clear idea about all these things, that will help you much. Just like our constructor, we have a destructor. A destructor is also automatically executed when the scope of the object is over, when the purpose of that object is over. So what does the destructor do? It de-initializes what has been initialized in the constructor. Constructor does the work of initialization. Destructor does the work of de-initialization. De-initialization. At your level, at graduate level, we won't be using much of this destructor is. Okay. Only we will be using the constructor very often. Okay. Look at this example, employee. Employee is the constructor. And how do you distinguish a constructor from a destructor? A destructor is, that starts with a tilt. It starts with a tilt. Okay, destructor. So destructor also has the same name as the class name, but it starts with a tilt. Here comes our first data structure, stack. Whether you understood it or not, whether you know it or not, uh, you have been using stack in your day-to-day life. Day-to-day life. You have very often used this stack very often in your day-to-day life. Okay. You take your study table. There are some 10 books are there. Books are arranged one above the other. That is a stack of books. That is a stack of books. Then you go to a ready-made cloth shop. In most of the ready-made cloth shop, in the shirt section, one shirt is above the other, packed in a cover. Okay, there it is a stack of shirts like that. What is to be understood about these two examples? In the case of books, one book is above the other. One book is above the other. Which book you can take first? The book at the top. The book at the top. If you try to take any book in the middle or in the bottom book, the books above might collapse. So you will always take only the book that is in the top. Same is the case with when it is a stack of shirts or when it is a stack of discs. Only the topmost disc or shirt is accessed first, then only one by one the remaining items. That is the beauty about stack. Then that is the case when you want to remove it. When you want to place something in the stack, that is, if you want to keep one more book on the already the piled books means, where will you keep it? You will keep it in the book above the book which is already on the top. Okay, so that is why uh, that's how you won't collapse other books. If you try to place a book in the middle, then certainly you will destroy, you will collapse those books. The point to be noted here is there is a point through which the book is placed. From the same point, the book is removed in the stack of books. That is, both entry and exit are same in the case of stack. Both entry point, exit point are same in the case of stack. So these are the real life situation of a stack. Now we go for technical definition of a stack. A stack is an abstract data type. A stack is an abstract data type. You can say, you can define a stack like this. A stack is an abstract data type in which the elements are processed in the last in, first out order. Last in, first out order. Which element came last? That element is accessed first. Which element came last? That element is accessed first. That is the idea behind stack. Idea behind stack. Okay. So it is very often used in practical situations In games, computer games, the stack is used very much. And for what are the other uses of stacks means, given a infix expression like a plus b. So what is an infix expression? An expression in which an operator is enclosed by operands. Okay, a plus b means here plus is an operator. It is enclosed by the operands a and b. So this is an infix expression. Supposing you are given an infix expression and you want to convert that into a postfix expression. Postfix expression, that is a plus b. The corresponding postfix expression is ab plus. So there, the postfix expression, the operator comes last. Operator comes last. First, the operands are written first, then the operators are written. That is postfix. So a stack is used to convert an infix expression into a postfix expression. That is one of the application of stack. And stack is also used in language processing and other things, games, computer games, wherever it is. Okay. So these are the some basics about stack. Yeah, stack is a last in, first out, abstract data type. And also you should know that all the elements in the stack are assumed to be of same type. We don't consider heterogeneous elements of stack. Heterogeneous elements of stack, and all the elements of the stack are understood to be same. That is homogeneous elements. All the elements of stack are in the homogeneous elements. Okay. How do we declare such a stack? So in other words, how do we implement such a stack? Most of the languages doesn't have stack as a inbuilt data type, inbuilt data structure. You have to define stack as a user-defined data structure using some of the data structures, built-in data structures that are already available in the language. There are two ways to declare, to implement a stack. One is using the arrays and another is using the pointers. Another is using the pointers. If you take arrays to implement a stack, you know that in an array, direct accessing of the elements is possible. And I told you that an array is going to be used to implement a stack. But what is the condition of a stack? Any element cannot be processed straight away. Rather, only the element in the top of the stack can be processed. But in an array, any element can be processed straight away. Then how are you going to use an array to implement a stack? That is a question. In here, we are going to use some mechanism, use some logical switch conditions such that only the elements of the, only the topmost element of the stack which is kept in the array is going to be accessed only. Then the next element, then the next element, like that. That is how our discussion will go on. So I'm going to use an array to implement a stack, as well as I'm going to use a pointer to implement a stack. Maybe first I will take an array to use an array to implement a stack. Then maybe after that we will implement a stack using pointer. So I want you to refresh your knowledge of pointers that you have already studied in C language. Recall whatever you study about pointers in C language, and before implementing stack using pointers, we will be implementing the stack using arrays. Here we will discuss about defining a class for the stack, then defining a member function push in the stack class, defining a member function pop in the stack class, then display the contents of your stack, destroy the contents of your stack, and checking whether the stack is empty or not, checking whether the stack is full or not. Those things we will discuss in the coming class, and we will implement also them. And sometime later, we will implement it for our practical class. Practical class. As the time is getting over, let us resume this class in the let us resume the discussion about stack in the coming classes. Next class. Thank you. Bye.